Now, why do I have to make things complicated? Why do I have to make it so now I'm creating a weak link in my flipping system, right? Why would you do that, Hunter? Why wouldn't you just flip straight braid? Why wouldn't you just flip straight fluorocarbon? Well, to me, this is something I've played around with a lot, and I'm talking, I call it target practice. I will literally go to a portion of the lake that I know I can go get 8, 10, 12 bites, and I practice my setups. And I'll have 3, 4 different rods, and I'll go through and see how these act, how they, everything from landing those fish. And so I'm using braid to a fluorocarbon leader. It's really simple. 40-pound spider wire DuraBraid. I like 40-pound because the diameter of it isn't too big. It's not too small. It matches the diameter of the fluorocarbon that I'm using. So 40-pound spider wire DuraBraid, and I do about a 6 to 8 foot fluorocarbon leader. And I'll do that with 20-pound Berkeley Trilene 100% fluorocarbon. 20 pounds is probably 95% of the time. That's what I'm going with. Now, if I'm flipping some really heavy stuff like bushes, like thick bushes, that classic at Ray Roberts, I use 25-pound. It's really big diameter, but 25-pound, I never broke a fish off. And we flip bushes the entire event. So to join that knot, I use a crazy Alberto knot, or it's an Alberto knot. Everybody's all into the FG knot. Does anybody know the FG knot in here? I do not. I do not know the FG knot because I feel like the Alberto knot is just as efficient. I've never broke it. The only time I say that, the only time I've ever broke it is when I didn't tie it correctly. Almost every knot is good if it's tied correctly. So Alberto knot, it's small, it's compact. Yes, it's larger with this larger diameter braid, but you can see pitching with this 40-pound braid, so smooth, okay? Now, my reasoning, why do I use, braid to fluorocarbon? So braid has 0 stretch, right? It's a straight pull. The bad thing about braid is when you start getting around wood or rock, like you're deliberately putting it into that wood or rock. Let's say you're flipping a laydown and you're using 40 or 50-pound braid. It's going to cut into that log. It's going to seesaw into that log a little bit. Now, if you set the hook on a fish and that fish has got you over a log, it is going to notch out a little cut. And so what can happen is when you set the hook and you notch that little hook, little deal in the log, that fish is now going to have slack, potentially can come off. Now, the only way you can correct that is use a larger braid, 65-pound, 80-pound braid. So now you got this really big diameter, and it's not going to cut into it as easily. But I still don't like doing it because I don't like the sound that it makes. I don't like the sound that braid makes going over something, a little seesaw action. Now, with the fluorocarbon, the properties of it, it's very, doesn't have a lot of stretch. It has stretch, but not near as much as mono. And you're able to get a lot of abrasion resistance out of it. So when you pitch over something, it's going to slide. So you're flipping into bushes, laydowns, rocks. It's going to slide over that instead of cut into it, okay? So now I have the best of both worlds. I have 0 stretch, but I also have abrasion resistance of the fluorocarbon, which is a big deal for me because I'm able to just, pitch around and not have to worry about this stuff getting caught up in everything. And it doesn't take a lot for me to set the hook